Hello, hello. Welcome back to the final day of Soliloweek. I've finally gotten through all of them. Today we are discussing what is usually my favorite soliloquy, Hamlet's last soliloquy, the "How all occasions do inform against me" speech from Act 4, Scene 4. I'm not totally sure why I like this one so much. I enjoy some of the imagery, horrific though it is. I'm super goth. And it is also the one most connected to the story of Hamlet. I made some allusion last time between the difference between the story and the plot. The story, let's just say for now, Fortinbras is involved with the story of Hamlet, but he's not involved with the plot of Hamlet. And Hamlet delivers this speech after he's found out that Fortinbras and his army are on the move, and he gets to see the army. Hamlet has been exiled by Claudius for the murder of Polonius. He is escorted by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who, as it turns out, are taking him to England with letters that he is to be executed upon arrival in England. Hamlet doesn't know this yet. He finds it out later on the ship, off stage, and while they are walking, they see the Norwegian army, which is Fortinbras's army. Hamlet asks an officer, "What's up with his army?" Possibly like, "Are you guys invading Denmark?" The officer says, "No, we're not invading Denmark. We've just been promised free passage through Denmark because what we really want to invade is Poland. Definitely. That's what we're here for. Why would Fortinbras ever invade Denmark?" Apparently in my version of Hamlet, everyone is awkward high schoolers. So he asks, what part of Poland are they attacking? And the captain says, "Oh, just like a little tiny part with like nothing on it that nobody cares about." And this really affects Hamlet as he looks at this massive army about to take great action for nothing. It's really similar to the rogue and peasant slave speech, where the player caused all these physical actions in his body for nothing for this fictional story about Hecuba. Hamlet's going through the same crisis again. So let's take a look at it line by line. We start with "How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge." I think the term "inform against me" is interesting because it has a sort of spy connotation, and there's a lot of like spy connotations in the whole play. And so even though this isn't like directly referencing someone spying, that language has seeped into other parts of the play. "What is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? A beast, no more." Here we're getting some allusions back to that speech he delivered to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who had just exited, about what a piece of work is man, where he talks about like how awesome man is in terms of what he can do, and yet why the fuck does it even matter? Here, we're going to explore that a little bit further, and we can trust this speech more because he doesn't have ulterior motives of deceiving Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. What's the point of man if all he does is sleep and feed? That's what animals do. "Sure, he, God, that made us with such large discourse looking before and after, gave us not that capability and godlike reason to fust in us unused." Here, Hamlet is thinking about thinking. He's like, animals can act, they can sleep and feed, those are actions. But man, humans, I'm gonna keep saying man because that's what Shakespeare uses, but like, sexist language alert, is able to do all of this thought stuff. He, has such large discourse means like the ability to talk about so many things, and we can predict the future and reflect upon the past. Like, surely there's a reason for that. Surely thinking can't be bad. And now we get like a really interesting thing going on grammatically. I do not fully understand the grammar of this sentence, the next sort of 4 lines. And it may be because it's not supposed to make sense. Maybe we have a textual error. Maybe there's something about Elizabethan English that I am missing. But we have. "Now, whether it be bestial oblivion or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event." parenthetical, a thought which quartered hath but one part wisdom and ever 3 parts coward. So he's saying now, whether it's because of this animal-like inability to think, or this thinking too much in a cowardly way, either of those two extremes, I do not know why yet I live to say this things to do, sith I have cause and will and strength and means to do it. So he's saying, I don't know, I haven't done what I said I would do, and I don't know if it's because I'm not thinking or because I'm thinking too hard, but it is one of those. And Hamlet, I think I could tell you which one. But now he's going to talk about this army that he has seen, and I'm kind of surprised by like how into descriptions of military stuff I am in this play, but like I love this. Examples, gross as earth, exhort me. Witness this army of such mass and charged, big-ass army, led by a delicate and tender prince. He's not saying, oh, Fortinbras is able to do this because he's like way more manly than I am. Like, he is delicate and tender. Hamlet is often himself played in a more delicate and tender way. I mean, at the beginning of the play, before any of this crazy shit happened, he was like, I'm just really sad about my dad. And then this delicate and tender prince's spirit, with divine ambition puffed. So Fortinbras does have this sort of not of this world thing filling him, but Hamlet has that too. He has that exhortation from his ghostly papa. Makes mouths at the invisible events. To make mouths at something is to mock it, to make fun of it. And Fortinbras is also exposing what is mortal and unsure, so his physical body, which can die, to all that fortune, death, and danger dare, even for an eggshell, even for something of no consequence. And from all this, Hamlet concludes that, rightly, to be great is not to stir without great argument. So you don't just want to get angry for no reason, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor's at the stake. So when honor is the thing that is being threatened, then you take the smallest thing and you make that thing big. So Hamlet is saying, my honor is at stake. He may also be saying, my mother's honor is at stake because she's being disgraced with these incestuous sheets. And so I must, in a big way, find quarrel. And he asks himself the question, how stand I then that have a father killed, a mother stained, excitements of my reason and my blood, and let all sleep? If Fortinbras is able to call up this whole army, move all of these people across multiple countries for an eggshell or a straw or Hecuba, what about me? My situation is way worse than just I have some insubstantial claim to a small part of Poland. My dad got fucking murdered. I am doing nothing. While to my shame, I see the imminent death of 20,000 men that for a fantasy and a trick of fame go to their graves like beds. It doesn't even matter that they're dying. Fight for a plot is the plot of land here, whereon the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. That's a kind of hard line, but like, I love it. So it means the piece of land that they're fighting for will not even be able to contain the number of soldiers that are being brought. On this plot, the numbers of soldiers cannot try the cause, cannot conflict with each other about who gets to have this land. And also the land is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. It is not a big enough tomb, and it does not have a big enough ability to contain to bury all of the bodies in. So many people are fighting for this tiny piece of land. The land is so small that whoever wins won't even be able to bury all of the bodies who are lost in this land. And he's like, wow, I really want to be like Fortinbras. I want to do it. Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be bloody or be nothing worth. Now, guys, I'm gonna break it to you. This soliloquy is basically the same thing as the rogue and peasant slave soliloquy. Hamlet compares himself, with him looking bad, to somebody else, the player, or Fortinbras, and it's like, they do so much stuff for nothing, and I'm doing nothing for so much stuff. I'm gonna go do stuff. And we all know how that went last time. So let's read the whole thing. Don't know if you can tell, but this is very exciting for me. How all occasions do inform against me, and spur my dull revenge. What is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? A beast, no more. Sure, he that made us with such large discourse, looking before and after, gave us not that capability and godlike reason to fuss in us unused. Now, whether 'tis bestial oblivion or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event, a thought which quartered hath but one part wisdom and ever 3 parts coward, I do not know why yet I live to say this thing's to do. Sith I have cause and will and strength and means to do it. Examples gross as earth exhort me. Witness this army of such mass and charge, led by a delicate and tender prince, whose spirit, with divine ambition puffed, makes mouths at the invisible event, exposing what is mortal and unsure to all that fortune, death, and danger dare, even for an eggshell. Rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor's at the stake. How stand I then, that have a father killed, a mother stained, excitements of my reason and my blood, and yet all sleep, while to my shame I see the imminent death of 20,000 men, that for a fantasy and a trick of fame go to their graves like beds, fight for a plot whereon the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be bloody or be nothing worth. We did it! Thank you very much for sticking with me through Soliloweek. Probably next week I will be coming at you with the full Hamlet analysis, which will be definitely easier because I won't have to talk about all the soliloquies. See ya.